Public hearing, and it's now 6 p.m. I will say that there should be other people coming in, and you may just want to be conscientious about letting people in. So if any of you want to make space for people, we certainly appreciate that. So, all right, at this time, we'll call our meeting to order. And I would like to just let everybody know, of course, we appreciate our law enforcement officers, and tonight we're provided security by Deputy Sheriff Jones. And at the door, you saw Deputy Sheriff Thomas Dobbs. So we want to thank you for your service. At this time, we'll move to item 2, approval of the agenda.
Okay, Madam Chair and Commissioners, we've had some developments as of late for the items that are on the agenda tonight. So I would like to request that the board withdraw item R1, which is a special use permit case. There's been a request for continuances on items R3 and R4, which is subject to the data centers.
Okay.
And then item R2 is an item that we would like to request to withdraw from the agenda altogether, as the application does not meet the criteria.
Okay. So a lot of moving information.
Yes.
And so, all right, can we take a minute? So item R1 is withdrawn, and can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. So there was a special use permit application that was submitted to the department. And as of recently, the applicant has decided, since it's against their HOA covenants, that she would like to withdraw this application. So perhaps we could review these and the board could decide which items you would like to hear tonight as we look at your agenda.
I think if we could just let the public know more than us, I think we're familiar with most of them. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I just think it's important because we've had so much change here that people should know that it's not necessarily our planning and development department, but a change in mind for some of the projects that are before us. So.
All right. So do you need more information on the special use permit request
No. I think we're good on that. Are there any other questions?
No, I can make the motion
Would
if
you
you like.
Okay.
I motion to amend the agenda to allow the applicant to withdraw item R1 and remove R2 from the agenda, and to grant a continuance for items R3 and R4 as requested.
I second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries.
And so, Madam Chair and Commissioners, so we could just take a minute and understand what that means tonight. We know that a lot of you came out for the items that are on the agenda, and if you do wish to speak on some of those items, even though there's been a withdrawal or a request, it is my understanding that the board will allow that. However, the staff will not be making presentations, as the applications have either been withdrawn or they may change as they go through the process. Items R3 and R4 are for the proposed data centers, and we had spoke even as recently with the attorney and the agent tonight before we got to this hearing, and their intent is to come back in July and to adhere to any changes that this board may make during the moratorium period on data centers. Would you like to add anything else?
Yes, so as we continue to work on our unified development ordinances, we've invited the public to a number of meetings over the last 9 months to really give feedback about what they'd like to see in their community. And during that process, we've gotten a lot of information, but as each of these items come up, we want to be sure that we are hearing from the public and getting that important feedback. As always, the board likes to see any company and stakeholder that wants to come in our community make concerted efforts to reach out to the community members through mailings, public hearings, and things like that before it even reaches this stage. So during that collaborative relationship, they have the opportunity to inform people and make them more aware of issues that are coming during the process for the hearing. So at this time, if there are any items that we'd like to have public comment on, can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, so the items that will actually have an actual public hearing tonight will be for R5, which is Treaty Oak, and then for items R6, R7, and R8, which are the UDO, Unified Development Proposed Text Amendments. Those items will be heard and presented by planning staff and then opened up for a public hearing. If you are here to speak about any of those other items that the board just continued and withdrew, please let us know, even though the staff will not be making a presentation and the applicants are not here to present as well.
Okay, so can we see if there's anyone that has a public comment about items R3 or R4?
I have a question.
Could you please come to the...
You can come to the podium. Yeah.
My name is Paul Stalka. All I would like to know is when 3 and 4 will be continued to
It will be July.
July.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That way our Unified Development Ordinances should be finished and adopted in June, and then that would allow for them to know what rules they would have to abide by to even be considered.
I have another question that's not on the calendar, but related.
You can try. Go ahead.
I can try. I found out there is a third data center that is with or the Environmental Protection Agency. It's also on Farmer Road, right next to the one that's already operating. I don't know anything about that one. It's the same corporation.
I only know about the two for that corporation, so I can't
Please silence
speak
all
to that.
phones. Thank you.
So I can't speak to that. The only thing I can think of on Farmer Road might be an expansion of the DC Blocks data center campus.
Yeah, it's across from Lester Road.
There is one piece of land out there, because I thought the same thing, that they're actually clearing to use to store their lumber, store their materials for the construction across the street. That it's not being cleared for another data center.
The map I shows it's a three-building
Yeah, it
data
is-
Well,
center.
there are 3 data centers. So I don't know which piece.
Yeah, I
But there is one across the street that is not a data center.
Yeah, I think that's their laydown lot, and I think it's part of the DC Blocks expansion.
I'll find out one later.
Okay,
I can-
thank you,
thank
Paul. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you. My name's Amanda Kirkland. I'm a Rockdale County resident. My question is, with the UDO and the zoning ordinances that are being written, how much of that is related to data centers, and how many ordinances have been discussed at public hearings and had public feedback about data centers concerning the UDO? Are there specific ordinances in the UDO
They
that
are working on adding those. We didn't have ones in our current UDO, but that's why we put the moratorium in place to hold things so that we could give concerted effort to making sure that we do hear from the public and that we do research and make sure that we're doing the best for our community.
Wonderful.
So we're
So-
still during that phase.
Okay,
So
so-
we have Director Brandon White here. We have actually, if I could quickly introduce our planning and development team. Do you want to do that, Director White? So that you'll have familiar faces.
Good evening, commissioners, members of the public. Brandon White, Planning Director. We also have Deputy Director Laura Parker, Projects Manager Jessica Pollitt, have a member of a zoning team, Tracy Roberts is here, planner Ryan Sadler, and we also have our administrative assistant here, Aisha Paul.
Yes. Very good.
Thank
So
you.
after the meeting, if you want to speak to one of them, the director or deputy director, they'd be glad to talk to you about when more meetings are so that you can have, additional input.
Okay, thank you.
You're
So just
welcome.
for clarification, there still will be public hearings related to data centers.
We've
zoning.
had so many that, but I can't remember all the dates, but we'll go over that.
I've attended multiple, and none of them have mentioned data centers that I've been to, so.
Well, you
I've
can
been-
always ask a question when you go there too.
Yeah, of
You're
course.
welcome to do that. So,
Thank you. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Amanda. All right. All right. At this time, we will go ahead and move forward with, I'm sorry. Feel free to come forward.
Thank you. My name is Eugene Nixon, and I'm a resident of Rockdale County. I'm also a pastor here in Rockdale County, and our church is going to be right in that area that the data centers are now trying to erect another one, not the three that you all have been talking about, but another one which would be 50 to 75 yards from us.
And the
Now,
name of your church is
God's
what?
Vision Ministries,
Okay.
1908 Rockbridge Road.
Okay.
Now, when we moved into a community. If I wanted to move into a data center area, that's where I would have put my church.
Sure.
So I think the data center should go where data centers are. And I think that I'm not against technology. I'm not against, upward mobility, but I want you all to know that as we bring in, or as you all allow these companies to come in, you're pushing communities out. And if you push communities out, all you're going to have is these industrial parks. And when they go belly up, you're just going to have big buildings that you're not going to be able to fulfill. I'll also like to say that in your planning, or are they looking at the noise level where they should be?
Absolutely.
The infrastructure utilities impact, how much money would that cost us in the community now that they are there?
There would be no cost to us.
Okay.
Please silence all phones. Thank you.
Have y'all done an economic analysis showing whether this project truly benefits the residents, not
have.
them? Okay? And remember, when you're thinking about tax dollars, all money is not good money. Thank you
Correct.
for your
Absolutely. Thank you. Friends, we have more people here, so if there's open seats next to you, if you'd be kind to let them in, that would be great. All right. At this
Anybody
time,
else on the data?
is there anybody else to speak? All right, so we'll move on. Here.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi. My name is Quayle Simmons. I was here Tuesday, but I didn't talk about the data center because I was asked not to, so I'm here
Yes.
today. And what the pastor said, a lot of the
If you'll pull the
questions-
microphone so people can hear you.
I was
Thank you.
going to ask a lot of the same questions that the pastor asked, but I also wanted to know, first off, I live 30 seconds away from one data center that is already being erected. Every time they blow up something in the ground, another part of my house falls apart. My ceiling is coming down, my steps have separated, I have cracks in the ceiling in my garage. Who's going to pay for that to get fixed? Because that's not my doing. I had no idea the data center would be there, or I don't think I would have ever moved in that area. And I think that's unfair. Not only that, the water in because I live off of a lake. When you go to the lake, it usually just looks like a lake. Now it's extremely murky. And I had storm and water come out, but they say that it's not the data center, but it wasn't there before the data center started blowing things up. So I need someone else to come out there and assess it because I don't feel like it's being assessed properly. That's one of the issues. But from what I understand is that these data centers, they get incentives financially to come and move into these areas. Why? They're not going to create jobs for people. They have created jobs for people to come and work to put it up, but not for people in the area. So how are you guys dealing with that? Because for every 1,600 construction workers, they only provide 150 jobs for people who live in the area. So how does that help residents?
Well, I'm not sure where you got your facts from, but I can share with you what I know and what I've seen, which is DC Blocks, who is the data center campus near your home, had a lot of community meetings, and that was done before the two of us were on the board. So during the time that we've been on the board, they finished their first building, and there were incentives given by the Development Authority, which is a separate board altogether. And that those incentives, my understanding, is that they were given because that was such a lucrative opportunity to balance the tax digest in Rockdale County. So in Rockdale County, we have about 60% of the tax burden is on the backs of the residents. The rest is on businesses, and that's because we're a small county. We're, in fact, the second smallest in the state of Georgia, and so that means we have limited opportunity for business development and residential. And so for us to balance the tax digest, we look at the projects that come before the Development Authority, and I know that when I came in office, we were very firm about making sure that we can't do abatements of zero moving forward. That's not something that is a county. We have to assume fire services, law enforcement, and a number of other things for a project like that. And so we have made known that the Board of Commissioners does need upfront payments for taxes. It's called pilot payments, and those are payments in lieu of taxes. So they have stopped doing some of the abatements for any of the data centers, and so I feel like that puts us in a better position in Rockdale County. So I know that you have a number of concerns, and I know that tonight, Ms. Rutledge, if she gets your information, we can pass that on to the company.
Have you guys checked other states that have been
Yes.
affected by,
Yes.
and have you seen them complain about noise pollution, water pollution,
Yes.
pulling on the economy, the electricity?
We've all attended conferences. We've looked at other counties. I think what's really important here is that I can't speak exactly to the DC blocks. That was done again before we were on the board. But moving forward, that's why we did put a moratorium in place, that we want to be as sustainable as possible, and we want to balance, the economy and being able to have reduced taxes and keeping people in their homes with how we have businesses in our community. Now, I will say DC Blocks, from what I've seen, is a stakeholder in our community. By that I mean the main contractor, Evans, has employed hundreds and hundreds of people. And I know a couple that work over there. And so I can't tell you the percentage of how many are in Rockdale County, but they have people in the trades from across the several counties. So I did want to share that with you. We can't keep going on public comment because we do have other matters to hear, but I'd be glad to talk to you after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Those are good questions.
Thank you.
All right. All right. At this time, I think we'll start with,
Approval of the minutes.
okay,
I move to approve the minutes from the January 22nd, 2026 meeting.
Madam Chair, I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Item number 4.
Okay, we will play the rules of the procedures for the items that will be heard tonight.
Each speaker must sign their name to the appropriate zoning case sheet and fill out a public comment card to register your intent to speak prior to the start of this meeting. Each item of business shall be handled in the order that it appears on the agenda, unless upon a motion of the Board of Commissioners, the order is changed. A member of the planning staff will present each item to the Board of Commissioners. The zoning applicant or agent will state their name and address at the podium and will have 10 minutes in which to make his or her presentation. Any portion of their 10 minutes may be reserved for rebuttal following the opposition to the application. After the applicant's presentation, all registered speakers who wish to speak in favor of the application will then be heard. Prior to speaking upon the item, each registered speaker will state their name and address at the podium. They will also be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the applicant has made his or her presentation, and the speakers in favor of the application have been heard, the secretary will then call upon the registered speakers in opposition to the application. The opposition shall likewise be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the public hearing portion is closed, no other speakers will be heard. After all public comments have been heard, the board may elect to hold a general discussion. However, no discussions will be rendered at this hearing. Decisions will be made at the next regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting.
All right.
And there's no unfinished business, and so the first item of new business will be item R5.
Good evening. Good evening. Again, my name is Ryan Sadler, and I'm a part of the Planning and Development team, and I will be presenting before you REZ 2025-13 and Future Land Use Map Amendment, Future Land Use Map Amendment 2025-07. This is located at 2002 Rockbridge Road Northwest, and the applicant is Zurosol LLC. So we have a rezoning request to rezone 48 acres from R1 to M2 General Industrial to permit the construction of a battery energy storage system, better known as BESS. We might say that throughout the presentation. Just know that we're discussing the battery energy storage system. And we have a future land use map amendment from medium density to technology park to permit the construction of the Panola Woods BESS system on 48 acres. And this is just a case summary. The applicant is requesting to rezone 48.48 acres from single-family residential R1 to general industrial M2 to permit the construction of a BESS. Additionally, the applicant is requesting to amend the future land use map from medium density residential to technology park. Approximately 7 acres or 14% of the proposed site shall be impervious. The remaining 41, give or take, acres will remain undisturbed and undeveloped, and it will be forested. The remaining 42 acres of land shall be preserved as a conservation area that could be utilized for public hiking trails, dog parks, and other eco-friendly public uses. The development does not include any occupied buildings and shall consist of a containerized BESS, a controlled building, and an electrical equipment. Security of the utmost importance. The BESS facility shall be surrounded with an 8-foot barbed wire fence. This site shall feature 24-hour cameras that are constantly monitored for safety. So again, just visualize, and they have, the applicant is here. It's kind of like containers that are filled with the BESS systems.
With the BESS system.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
She wants to know repeat what you said it was filled
The
with.
BESS, the containers will be filled with the electrical equipment, better known as the BESS. Here is the area of request, and this is an aerial view of that area. Here is a zoning map. Again, the surrounding zoning area is R1, and to the south is OI, where a data center is currently being built right now.
And OI is Office Institutional?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell them the roads that border it?
This area will be on Rockbridge Road and off of, and Farmer Road, yes. So it is Northwest Rockbridge Road and Farmer Road.
Okay.
And again, this is the zoning map showing the surrounding zonings. This is the relationship to the comprehensive plan. The applicant is requesting to go to Technology Park, which is best suited for any type of data center, warehousing, or industrial uses. This category kind of best fits this request. So that would be Technology Park instead of the medium density that is currently at.
Okay.
Here is a map showing the future land use designations in the area. Again, it is medium density, and they are requesting to go to Technology Park, which is that gray at the bottom of the key or the legend.
Okay.
Here is,
What's across the street in yellow?
across the street in yellow is going to be your low-density residential and agriculture.
Okay.
Here is a site plan of the proposed BESS system or the battery storage facility.
Can we see if we can enlarge that?
I'm going to try that.
Okay.
And as he's enlarging that, the zoning standards and development standards have all been met with this request. It meets the minimum lot size, the minimum lot width, the front and rear setbacks along with the side setbacks. And it meets everything as far as in the zoning ordinance at this time.
Okay. All right.
Based on staff's evaluation of this request, the Department of Community Development recommends approval on the future land use map amendment category from medium density to technology park to permit the construction of this BESS system. And based on staff's request, the planning department also recommends approval with conditions, and 19 conditions at that, for the rezoning from R1 to M2. And I can briefly go over those conditions.
Please do.
So again, we do have 19 proposed conditions, as you can see listed on the screen, and I just want to give you a brief overview. The project shall be subject to all applicable standards in the UDO as of the December 2025 version. The property shall be developed in general conformance with approval of the conceptual site plans, so they must adhere to the site plans that they present and give us to move forward with any LDP or land disturbance. Also, to mitigate any adverse impacts, the development shall provide a 100-foot wide buffer or undisturbed buffer adjacent to all residentially zoned properties. Buffers should enhance and shall, give screening to this site along any residential properties. We also have included transportation standards that includes a traffic impact study. We also have conditions related to noise regulations and environmental noise impact assessment. Stormwater management regulations and stormwater pollution prevention plans shall be required. Water quality and quantity control, low impact development and impervious surface reduction, cooling system and condense management, fuel and oil containment, operation and maintenance, monitoring and reporting, illicit discharges and enforcement, emergency notification, blasting, and land disturbance requirements, along as a decommission plan for review and approval prior to the issuance of any disturbance permits. And those are just a brief overview. Again, we do have the listed out conditions in your packets, and the public can also see the staff report as well. The applicant is here to speak to or to their project, and if you have any questions for staff, we are here, and I'm ready to take those on. If not, the applicant is here, and they have a presentation prepared for that as well.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to see the 12 recommendations, where would they
19.
find those? Do we have them on a website?
They would be online under the BOC portion of the.
So I
Yes.
was just going to say they're in two places. They're actually on the Board of Commissioners webpage and on the Planning Commission webpage.
Okay. Very good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At this time.
And the applicant is here.
Thank you.
Let me make sure I know how to use this. Okay, great. Well, pleasure. Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, members of the community. My name is Patrick Duffy. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. I'm here on behalf of Treaty Oak. I brought a lot of team members. We have internal subject matter experts, external subject matter experts covering environmental, fire safety. So we welcome any and all questions. After this presentation, we're very happy to share all of our information about the project. So So some background on Treaty Oak. We're a U.S.-based clean energy company. Our focus is strengthening power grids through responsible development of solar and battery storage projects across the U.S. Just because there has been some confusion around this lately, I just want to clarify that we do not own or operate data centers, nor are we associated with any local data centers nearby. At Treaty Oak, we say what we're going to do. Integrity is a key, it's part of our blood here. So we own and operate our projects for the long term. So that means we're going to be here in all the communities that we, work in and have projects in for 20 to 30 years in the life of our projects. We understand that when a company proposes infrastructure in a community, trust matters. And we're here to earn that every step of the way, from the initial project development through construction, operations, and eventual decommissioning. Further, we fully accept the 19 conditions that were provided by planning and zoning staff, and we are fully on board with meeting those conditions. We understand that as a new neighbor in Rockdale County, people probably have a lot of questions. That's why we've put in a lot of work so far to get to know you and make sure we're here. We don't want this project to be a surprise to neighbors. Our efforts have been to engage early and often, and we've been deliberate. We've started with those closest to the project or might be impacted by it, eventually working our way out to broader circles of the community. Those efforts have resulted in sending 8,400 mailers and 143 certified letters to nearby residents, introducing Treaty Oak and outlining our project. We also launched a dedicated website where projects can learn more and submit questions directly to our team and provide overviews of what battery energy storage projects are, what they look like, visual rendering. So, we hope that folks access those materials, and feel free to reach out to us during or after, this hearing. We hosted 2 open houses, one in October, another in December. We had a good turnout for those. We sent additional mailers, placed notice in Rockdale Citizen, and worked with local officials to share information through various community channels. So I think what that gets us to tonight is we're here to discuss our battery storage project, aka BESS. So on this, this is just an overview of our community engagement that we went through, kind of highlighting our open houses, our outreach. We have sponsored some community events and partnerships that we can go through further. But just getting strictly here into the BESS and what this project looks like, where it's located. So you'll see a simulation here of what the BESS containers look like. These are outdoor units. They're 20 feet, kind of like storage containers. You'll see trees nearby. You'll see that we're only taking up a small portion of land. We, have 49 acres, but we're only utilizing 10 acres, and it's going to be closest to that Georgia Power substation right across the street, to where we would run a generation tie line. So what exactly is BESS, and why is this project good for Rockdale? At its most basic level, the project is essentially a large battery, right? It stores electricity when it's available and delivers it back to the grid when it's needed most, such as during periods of peak demand, during extreme temperatures, or unexpected outages, where keeping the power can be a tremendous asset to the safety of local communities. A simple way to think about this is like a backup battery. You're charging for your phone, but at a much larger scale. So our project is 200 megawatts, and that's enough to power 160,000 homes for up to 4 hours, which is a big dent when the grid is struggling in Georgia's summer heat. Just some clarifications of what BESS is versus a data center. Just these are clarifications. One, data centers consume energy to provide their service. We store energy, right? Data centers create demand, and we supply power when demand spikes. Data centers can often use water, lots of water, and we do not. Also, we do have a relatively small footprint, and we are keeping a lot of trees intact. Just jumping to safety. As I mentioned, engagement with the community is a key part of what we do, and those relationships are essential when it comes to community safety. We've had the pleasure of engaging with Assistant Chief Fire Marshal Lynn and the Rockdale Fire Rescue through this whole process. These efforts started early in our development, and we plan to continue to educate, address concerns, and incorporate their feedback for years to come. I think specifically the upcoming efforts that we'll be working with the fire department are, along with the 19 conditions, it's a key emergency response plan, providing training specific to the technology and facility, collaborative drills, and working with the county to ensure the appropriate resources and equipment are in place. Importantly, we're committed to working with the county to enter into a reimbursement agreement in the extremely rare event that there is an incident that's caused by our project. For the locals who have been impacted by the recent chemical fires, we know that those are still top of mind for many. Fire safety was a key concern raised at the open houses, and we did not take that lightly. We've addressed those concerns individually and at events from early on in our development, but we want to again today offer some insights that might be helpful to the commissioners and attendees in the room. One, a battery storage facility is fundamentally different in both design and operation than the biolab incident. BESS simply cannot replicate a biolab incident. We're not stockpiling raw chemicals. We are in outdoor containerized units. Some of the more past incidents that have happened at BESS were due to outdated standards. Facilities like ours are designed to modern national safety standards that have improved greatly throughout the years. This is through the National Fire Protection Association, which is a self-funded nonprofit and leading global advocate for the elimination of death, injury, property, and economic loss due to fire, electrical, and related hazards. We adhere to key FPA provisions, including FPA 855 and UL 9540, and incorporate multiple layers of protection, such as 24/7 monitoring by a remote operations center, advanced battery management systems that continuously track performance, and built-in fire detection systems and spacing between the units. Finally, battery energy storage is not experimental technology. It is newer to Rockdale County, but it's not new to Georgia or the United States in general. Today, there's over 900 grid-scale battery storage facilities that are operating safely in the United States. From an environmental standpoint, under normal operating conditions, the facility isn't expected to produce air emissions, harmful EMFs, wastewater discharge, or require continuous water use. It will also include stormwater controls and landscape screening consistent with county requirements.
You forgot the last one.
Oh, sorry. There will be minimal clearing. It will be done in consultation with foresters. We have conducted a tree survey within the requirements. We understand the requirement of removing trees and replanting, so that will be a part of our process. So just cutting to, supporting our growth and economics here. This project is going to deliver meaningful economic benefits to Rockdale County. Over the life of the project, we're estimated to generate an estimated $45 million in new property tax revenue, offering funding that can support schools, public safety, and county services. Local spending and construction jobs will also be a benefit. Treaty Oak will also continue to support the community through donations, sponsorships, partnerships with local causes and events, representing tens of thousands of dollars annually in direct community investment. Just a further view of just the property tax revenue breakout. This is a significant investment from us, close to $300 million of capital expenditures from the facility. We did have a third party prepare a property tax revenue assessment to model out over the life of the project what the property tax revenues would bring to the county. A differentiating piece too is these are unabated tax revenues. These are going directly to the county. So, as you can see, I think the first 5 years of operation, we'd anticipate an average of $3.3 million. We just have a little revenue profile there. As the project, degrades in depreciation, there's a smaller piece, but as you can see, those upfront first 5 to 10 years, you're looking at a significant amount of property tax revenue.
So there are no abatements for this project?
Correct.
Okay.
And what the county is currently bringing in on this parcel is about $5,000, I think in 2025 and 2024. So obviously a large increase year over year. So At the end of the day, this project represents modern safety, monitored and maintained infrastructure designed to strengthen the grid and support the community and operate safely within it. We're here with a long-term commitment to be a good neighbor, be accountable to you all in our project, and work closely with community stakeholders like the fire department so we can keep Rockdale County safe while supporting critical power needs. We believe it reflects responsible development and long-term partnership with Rockdale County, and we respectfully request your approval. Thank you very much for your time.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair and Commissioners, we do have people signed up in support and opposition of. So would you like to take the two that are in support first, and then we'll go to opposition? And just as a reminder, there are two applications for this particular item tonight. So we'll start off with 20 minutes per side. And if you so decide you need more time, you can extend that, but to both sides equally.
Okay.
All right,
Very
so if we could start the timer for those who are in support of, I guess you already have it going. So Chris Wood is the first one.
Madam Chair,
Good evening.
Commissioners,
Hi.
my name is Chris Wood, and I reside at 485 Kingswood Lane in Atlanta. I am not a resident of Rockdale. I work for Snapping Shoals EMC as their Vice President of Economic Development and External Affairs. I'm not here tonight personally or in a professional as a representative of Snapping Shoals to tell Rockdale County how to zone this property, but we are in favor of item R5. Let me explain why. Rockdale County is growing, not just with data centers and large loads. New homes and new businesses continue to come to Georgia and Rockdale. Snapping Shoals is always looking to provide power to our customers in the most economical way possible. A battery energy storage system can provide cost savings and efficiency. The batteries actually get charged up when electricity is cheap, a lot of times in the evening or through solar, which we have a ton of in South Georgia. We've been building megawatts of that over the last few years. It gets discharged during peak times of peak demand when rates are high, and it helps us to offset energy prices. It also helps with renewable energy integration. Solar is really big in Georgia. That energy is generated during the middle of the day when the sun is shining. That is not when Georgia needs more electricity. We actually use it a lot more in the morning peaks and the evening peaks. Sometimes in the summer when it gets really hot and everybody runs their AC, or in winter when it gets really cold. That's when you pull on additional generation that can be costly and expensive. A battery energy storage unit can allow us to shave those peaks, which allows Snapping Shoals to not buy energy at its highest and keep our rates low. It also enhances grid stability. Batteries assist the electrical grid by offering rapid frequency regulation, voltage support, and load balancing, which helps prevent brownouts and blackouts and increases reliability, which is a term you hear tossed around a whole lot these days. It also lowers carbon footprint. I mentioned earlier it reduces our reliance on running some dirtier fossil fuel peaking plants when things get really hot. And if we can draw down on the battery, which was charged up either during the evening when electricity base load is cheap or through solar, it helps keep us from running some of those plants that aren't necessarily the most environmentally sound. I hope we don't have a repeat tonight of the Planning Commission meeting. Somehow during that meeting, the project became associated with data centers. Maybe it's because the proposed location is located near DC blocks. I'm not sure. What I do know is Snapping Shoals has been in discussions with Treaty Oak over the past year to be the only recipient of the entire amount of energy that comes out of this facility should it be rezoned, and we would be using it for all the reasons I spoke about above. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then next speaker in support of is it Emil Naik? Amal. I apologize, okay.
That's all right. I've heard all different versions
Right.
over the years. Good evening, Chair Van Ness, Commissioners Smith and Williams, and members of the community. My name is Amal Naik. I'm here in favor of the battery storage project proposed by Treaty Oak Clean Energy. I'm primarily here as a resident of Metro Atlanta who's passionate about our clean energy future and our community's resilience. I've lived in Metro Atlanta for 25 years and am proud to be raising a family here. Previously, I served as the City of Atlanta's Chief Resilience Officer, where I oversaw the city's sustainability and equity efforts. I'm also a former member of the Atlanta Regional Commission and currently serve on the Commission's Energy and Resilience Council. I want to start with the two core issues in front of you tonight: clean energy and economic development. First, clean energy and sustainability. So when I was Chief Resilience Officer, the City of Atlanta adopted a 100% clean energy plan. We've made real progress on these goals in our region, but much remains to be done. And one of the primary drivers of progress will be battery technology like what Treaty Oak is proposing here in Rockdale County. Simply put, renewable energy is intermittent. Obviously, it's not sunny or windy all the time. So for solar power to be used at night, for instance, it needs to be stored. At the end of the day, that's what battery storage does. The bottom line is this: there is no realistic path to a clean energy future without utility-scale battery storage like what Treaty Oak is hoping to invest in here in Rockdale County. This need for innovation is particularly urgent in Georgia, where energy demand, as you all know, is rising rapidly. By locating battery storage here in Rockdale County, you're helping ensure that energy can be stored and delivered efficiently, which can help keep costs lower for Rockdale residents. This distributed energy is also important for resilience. As we've seen in natural disasters, such as the ones in Western North Carolina, distributed energy resources like battery storage can serve residents faster and more reliably after major weather events. The second piece of this is economic development. So as has been stated, currently 4 other counties in Georgia host battery storage like Treaty Oaks, and there's over 900 in the United States and hundreds around the world. In addition to the important energy and resilience benefits, these communities are receiving significant tax revenue. Here in Rockdale County, this project is expected to generate approximately $45 million in tax revenue over its lifetime from a site that would otherwise generate little to no value. In my 25 years of experience working across the state, this is the sort of win-win project that counties are eager to bring their communities, both to drive revenue and improve infrastructure. Battery storage is already in place in thousands of locations around the United States, and my hope as a Georgian is that we continue to build this capacity across the state to make us cleaner, more resilient, and better prepared for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 6 signed up in opposition, and so if we could start the clock for the opposition. And the first is Eugene Nixon.
Here I am again. Once again, my name is Eugene Nixon, and I'll just give you the real short facts. My church is at 1908 Rockbridge Road, not far from where this is proposed to be built. I am not against renewable energy. I think we need that. But what it is, I am against high-risk industrial use in this area so close to homes and schools and churches and other businesses. I have some questions that I would like for them to answer if they could, but I have to talk to you all. They say that they're not involved or in business with the data centers. I believe that, but because they are so close, they're cursed by association. The next thing is, why do they need to be so close to data centers? That's the problem. You're so close to the data centers that it looks like it's deceiving. When all of this stored energy is being harnessed and the lights go out, who sets the agenda to where that extra power goes? In the community where you have houses and with us, a church, are we going to be on the back end of getting that when the lights go out, or will the data centers get them? Just a question. And I know they say once again that they have nothing to do with them, and I understand that. But because of the proximity, they may not be in bed with them, but they're right at the bedroom door. I'm also against this because of public safety and risk. It is very real. Can anybody say biolab? Large-scale lithium-ion battery systems have experienced fires in multiple states. This land use does not fit our community. I keep going back to community and not this big industrial park that they're talking about. There are environmental and health concerns. Firewater runoff can contaminate the soil. If we just reread the concerns of the local fire department that was here last time we met, they have big concerns. Maybe they're meeting them. Maybe they've come back to you all with them. But I have concerns. I have not heard about it. I respectfully ask that the board deny this proposal. Also, what is best for Bess may not be best for Rockdale County. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Charlie Williams. Watkins. Oh, I apologize. Yeah. All right, Charlie Watkins.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlie Watkins. I reside at 2181 Lake Rockaway Road. The gentleman that came up before me stole a little of my thunder in reference to biolab, and my question is, in event of emergency or spill or whatever, what is the hazardous remedy for that? You know, whether it's air, water, or whatever. I like to read this real quick. It said, battery storage centers are often located near data centers to ensure reliable power and supply to reduce latency in energy delivery. This proximity helps data centers manage their energy needs efficiently, especially during peak demand or power outages, enhancing operation efficiency time. If it walk like a duck, talk like a duck, quack like a duck, it's a duck. So they are in partnership, the data center and the battery center. If not, why not put it somewhere else? Why at this particular time? That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Miss Linda Young.
Hi.
Good evening. Good evening, Rockdale County Board of Commissioners. I am Linda Akins Young, and I am a lifelong resident and taxpayer in Rockdale County. I live on Farmer Road, and I have lived there my entire life, and I've lived in 1869 for the last 56 years. I'm here to speak against item R5, Treaty Oaks, and also against agenda items that will not be considered for action by the board, which is MEM acquisitions 3 and 4. I'm going to cut my comments short because I have a tendency to get very emotional about these issues, and I want to allow some time for the other 4 individuals that need to speak. I'm apprehensive about speaking this evening, as I told the planning board, because some Rockdale County elected officials have shown very little concern for our well-being as residents lately. Our leadership has, through their actions, shown that industry, no matter what kind, battery center, data center, multifamily housing, truck stops, service stations, etc., they're more deserving of favor at the expense of neighborhoods of lifelong citizens and taxpayers. I found it interesting that the 2 that spoke in favor of this proposal, that they were, first of all, they're not Rockdale County residents, and they're not paying you any taxes. The second thing I found interesting about that was that they were speaking on behalf of their jobs. So this will not be in their backyard. Allowing an extreme number of these developments is doing nothing but infringing on the residents and pushing us out of the communities we've called home our entire lives. No consideration is being given to the fact that us, the residents, our homes are sacred and hold generational memories. Currently, DC Block's data center is being constructed adjacent to several of my neighbors and across the street from my husband and myself. They are on the right. Now, Zerosol Batteries is asking to invade our neighborhood and place a battery energy storage center on 49 acres, which is to our left. I'm so very disappointed that the Rockdale County Fire Marshal, Mr. John Nicholas Lynn, or at least another representative from our fire department, is not here tonight to share with us the PowerPoint that was shared with the planning board members. At their meeting, it clearly explained the dangers of such an operation, especially among residents, from contaminating the environment to starting chemical battery fires. We know what dangers can become realities, as we are one of the neighborhoods that's had to endure biolab fires, evacuations, and air contaminations on several occasions. Skipping some. Every time I go outside or leave home, I find myself in tears or wanting to take up cussing. It hurts very deeply to see what has become of our neighborhood. It looks like a war zone, and most days we feel like it is. The data center that's being constructed now, they're blasting all day, and it's so severe that it's cracking our foundations, just as the young lady explained before. When they sold us that bag of goods, they originally told us that there would be very minor blasting, which is far from true. Our homes are shaking fiercely, that there's no way that we're not experiencing structural damage to our homes and their foundation. The land that Zerosol and MM Acquisitions is requesting rezoning is nothing but solid rock. So if they are approved, we are sure that our homes will crumble to the ground. Most of our neighborhoods are older, residents are older, so all of this has become quite stressful. We want to know who we should contact to pay for our counseling. We're concerned about our health. With all of these data centers and battery storage centers as our neighbors, they're relatively new, but research supports that nearby residents should be concerned about health issues that they may experience. Everyone already knows the concerns about water and electric usage and neighboring utilities increasing the property you lose in values. We're asking you to consider our well-being and enact a moratorium on data centers more than what is currently in place. And rezonings, enough is enough, and Farmer Road has had enough. Please, nothing else in my neighborhood.
Thank you.
Miss Stephanie Thomas is next.
Alrighty. Good evening. Stephanie Thomas. I live on the other side of Conyers in South Rockdale, 2548 Sycamore Drive. And I have been asked to combine some concerns.
Excuse me, Stephanie. They're saying they can't hear you in the back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where do you want me to start? I'm right here.
Just use your outside voice, maybe.
Use my outside voice. Okay. All right. So there are a plethora of entities who look at policy recommendations, best practices, and long-term community impact, all of which can be searched online using tools like the U.S. Department of Energy, Power Technology, the Institute for Energy and Research, various schools of public health, which is my background, and one of my favorites, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Today, many of us here and next door are out this evening because we are concerned with how this industry will impact our environment, and my favorite, the people who actually live here. It disturbs me when I see big business coming to places to leave things they would not want or place in their own community. Georgia ranks 5th in this country for data center growth, and guess what? Where there is a data center, there is also a request to build best. It is insulting to say there is no relationship. I am concerned after listening to several people that this is a targeted opportunity. The air we breathe and the water we drink are all necessary for health outcomes and life. I am a registered nurse of over 30 years. I have seen the good and the bad. I have worked in different states, and trust me, it's not a pretty end. The reality is there is no one on the other side who can speak to long-term health risks because it is too soon to tell. Last week, if you were listening, not one rebuttal was offered in response to the health risk claims because no one really knows, but also, quite frankly, it does not impact them. And they will not be here in 20 years to experience any potential health risk, so it is not a top priority. They didn't decide to plant in upper income areas. They came to a place they thought they could get away with it, make their money, and go without consequences. At all levels of government, we have seen levels of corruption in predominantly older, low income, and brown communities. In 20 years, the demographics of this county shifted drastically with a change from 8% to 60%, over 60%. But it also shifted in income and age, and now here comes big business and government trying to disrupt our lives. All of a sudden, the income is up in the county, and our money is perceived as disposable income to build $140 million buildings, fund unnecessary trips, add top-heavy leadership salaries in the second smallest county, not to mention the ridiculous tax increases. Seniors are being disenfranchised and discarded, and quality of life goes out the window for the love of money. As I read through Facebook group comments over the last few days, it is clear many people are frustrated and believe the previous BOC and possibly the current BOC are focused on the wrong kind of gain. Immediate gratification versus quality growth and expansion. Things are moving super fast and changes are being pushed through with sweeping votes while shuffling last-minute meeting changes and venues to keep people confused, exhausted, and restricted. The chosen venue always should support community engagement, not serve to restrict access. I hope the commissioners are reading the comments online. They are full and suggestive of the climate of the voters. The things suggested are disturbing, but also visible to many people, not just in Rockdale. And while I do not know if they are true, I am hopeful they are not. What I do know is our focus should be on developments that can be sustainable, taking into consideration the social, economic, and environmental consequences it generates, and lead us to conscious choices in terms of the trade-offs, the synergies, and the spin-offs it creates. And in this deal, I just do not see anything. I am not opposed to data centers. I fully understand best in the necessary, the need that it presents for the data center. I do not believe it should have been in a residential neighborhood. We heard the current data center is okay because it will be using recycled closed loop water, how much money would flow into the county in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe 30 years. Why did the previous commissioners vote yes without ensuring an equitable trade-off for the people and the community investment? There never should have been an approval with tax abatements without flow and investment into our community, our schools, mandated jobs for residents, infrastructure for growth, some type of offset which trickled to the people and possibly not just the hands of those who participated. Voters relied on the BOC to advocate for the people first, and we have the same expectation now. It was this perceived disregard that triggered the change in 2024. Have you done your due diligence to read and educate yourselves? I am trusting that that is what is occurring. In being familiar with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, how will this aid in their plan? How will it negatively impact us? I live here, I planted here on purpose. I fully understand the need to grow, develop, and thrive. I do not think any of this should have been approved. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next speaker is Amanda Kirkland. And Madam Chair and Commissioner, there are 4 minutes remaining for opposition. So if you would like to extend the time on both sides, we could do that.
Is Ms. Kirkland the last person signed up?
No, we have Amanda Kirkland and Ellen Lee. So we have 2 more.
I think we can fit it in. By
Okay, so we have 4 minutes remaining. Okay. Ms. Kirkland?
Thank you.
I'm back. Again, my name's Amanda Kirkland. I'm a Rockdale County resident. I'll be honest, I have been following the data center battery storage journey for a while now, for months, that I've been attempting to get more and more information about this. And I've called the planning office, I've been up there a few times, and it's been frustrating to say the least. But anyway, first, I'm not prepared as I would be because this meeting was announced yesterday. That's really frustrating for residents that would love to attend these meetings.
That's not true.
No.
Not at
That's
all.
the first I saw it.
Well, maybe, but
and I
this is
apologize
announced
if
in
that's not true.
advance. And what
Yeah,
was the
these
date?
meetings are advertised 40 days in advance, 45 days actually, and we put
This
them,
meeting?
yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can maybe get on Jennifer Rutledge's
Sure.
email, or we'd be glad to
love that.
provide
Yeah.
that in a different way so that you can be aware of those times.
That's interesting because
Yes.
I've been following the calendar pretty closely, and I'm confused why that wasn't more obvious. And I also have other friends and neighbors that were shocked to hear that there was a meeting today and would have loved to have been here. There are many people watching online right now. I hope that you go back and read those comments from the residents of this county because just a few little facts, and I apologize, I'm not as organized as I would normally be, but I'm going to point out, within a mile radius of this project, there, according to census data, there are approximately 6,824 residents within 1 mile of this site. 1 mile. I'm going to go back to what previous speakers have said about the fire damage and danger that these things pose to our residents. We're just now recovering from the Biolab fire. We lost, how much money did the county lose to that? $20 million that was not being able to recover from the lawsuit. And I hope that this isn't just an attempt to make that money back up. I'm frustrated because the residents are feeling very disenfranchised. We hear that there's public transparency, but for instance, the transparency that I've gotten on many meetings has been during working hours or at 7:30 in the morning, or there's a $20 ticket to attend. Yeah, it's been really frustrating. So I also want to point out, a lot of the residents are not feeling like they're being listened to, and I feel like this opens the county up to litigation in the future. There's precedent for lawsuits, disputes about zoning lawsuits already in Georgia. Jones County, 2026, basically accusing the county of spot zoning and not listening to the residents in the area and simply just ignoring them because the money looks good for the county. This is 7,000 people. 2 mile radius goes to 15,000, between 15 to 18,000 people that
Madam
know,
Chair, Ms.
yeah.
Kirkland, I apologize to interrupt, but that's time.
Yes,
I
thank
understand.
you.
Okay.
Thank you for
And we
your
did
time.
have one more. Did you want to extend it? Okay.
Yes, that'll be fine. Hi.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm always the last one with the clock ticking.
Well,
I think
I'm
my husband may
sorry.
have arranged that, but that's okay. My name is Ellen Jacques Lee. I live at 1848 Farmer Road. I have lived there for over 40 years. My husband has lived there over 70 years, although he's still good looking. My father-in-law deeded us that land as part of his legacy. It had meaning to us. It still has meaning to us. My husband and I have worked. We have paid taxes. We have raised children right at 1848 Farmer Road, and now we have grandchildren while living in a peaceful home and a peaceful neighborhood. Now, because some millionaires, billionaires somewhere decided they don't have enough money, we have data centers and now battery storage in our area. They want to move into our neighborhood. When you make your decision, when you make your vote, I want you to think about this. Would you want this battery center next door to your parents' home? Would you want it next door to your children? Or worse, would you want it somewhere near your grandchildren? The gentleman that spoke out for this it's interesting. They didn't say bring it to my neighborhood. They say it's good for the economy, it's good for the community, it's good for the environment. Why didn't they say bring it to my neighborhood? There's something wrong with that. The fire department is not here, so I'm going to talk about some things I really shouldn't be talking about. They should. Uncontrollable fire risk, toxic emissions, safety hazards, proximity and density, environmental concerns, quality of life impacts. They're the ones that should be presenting that tonight, not me. When I looked at those negative things that are coming from a battery center, I said, to be fair, I always like to be fair. Let me look at what positive things they bring to the community. It was some cost savings. That information came from Bess. It was some backup power. That information came from Bess. My question is, how many of us in Conyers, in Rockdale County, have had power outages that have lasted long enough for us to need a battery energy storage system in our backyard? I contend we haven't had those kind of outages. We don't live on the coast. We don't live in areas where we have snowstorms that knock our power out. The worst I've ever had in Rockdale County has been maybe 2 days, and that was 10, 15 years ago. We just don't have those type of outages. So who is it for? It's not for us. It's not going to benefit us. And people wonder why we connect this to a data center. It's because when they brought the data center here before the commissioners, they told us it's going to reduce your taxes. You know what happened to our taxes last year? Do you know what happened? They said there were going to be parks and now I see it's going to be dog parks. I haven't seen the first park. All I've seen is construction, houses shaking, noise. You can't sit outside in the daytime, you can't sit outside in the nighttime.
Madam Chair, I apologize. One more
thing. We were on a Zoom meeting. We were on a Zoom meeting once, and they were promoting the need for data centers in our area. And I was asking questions, and the gentleman started laughing. He was representing a data center. Do you know what he said? I don't know why you're trying to fight this, because your commissioners have named this the data center alley. And I said, excuse me?
It wasn't me.
Oh,
It
no,
wasn't
no,
us.
no.
Nope.
Oh, no.
Not us.
He said it. I didn't say you did it.
Oh,
He
yeah,
said it.
definitely.
Yeah, okay.
And there were other people on that meeting that heard it. And I took exception. How can you identify anything in Conyers to be a data center alley? But he said it. And he said it with confidence. And he thought it was funny. And he thought I was funny. But guess what? I'm going to remember. He's not going to think it's funny the next time he sees me. But I want you to know, if Rockdale County is so small, why do we need to supply stuff for the state of Georgia, or for the United States, or for the world? We need to be trying to take care of Conyers. We put you in office to look out for us. You hired these people over here on the planning board making recommendations. Are they making recommendations on our behalf? Who are they representing? It's not us. If we were having outages and we came to you and we said we need a solution, we need electricity in this county, then I will be in full support of them. But I'm not. I recommend that you decline.
Thank you. Okay, so that closes out the opposition piece. The applicant does have a balance of time. Did you want to use the balance of your time? Okay.
Can I ask what's the balance of time?
6 minutes.
I don't think I'll try not to use all that up.
Okay.
Hello, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Josh Cherry. I am representing Treaty Oak, who is the applicant today, and I'm a proud Georgia Tech graduate. All I really want to do here is just run through some questions and concerns that the community members had. We appreciate these concerns, and really it's our job to be able to answer them. Before I even get into it, I have a stack of business cards, and I'll hand them out to whoever wants them. You can call me day or night, and I'm happy to answer questions. I'll run through presentations, or if you just want to cuss me out for 5 minutes, I'll sit for that too. It's whatever you need, I promise. So, in no particular order, I'll just go through the list, and if there's follow-up questions from the commissioners or anything, I'm happy to answer those too. I don't know if that's within the rules of order for this proceeding. I apologize. So, first and foremost, there were some questions or concerns about why the project is where it is, and suspicious that it's so close to a data center. We showed a map earlier that showed that our site is directly across the street from an existing Georgia Power 115 kilovolt switchyard. And in fact, it's that very switchyard that we have an executed interconnection agreement with the Georgia Power Company for our project to interconnect and charge and discharge power from the grid. And it's on the screen now. That is the sole reason that our project is where it is. We're not worried about what other industrial neighbors are in the area. This project needs to connect to the Georgia Power grid, full stop. We're not connecting to any industrial neighbors. We're connecting to that Georgia Power grid, and we're seeking to sell our power to Snapping Shoals, local EMC that provides power for this community. Another concern that we heard on a couple, Mr. Nix brought it up, as with some other folks later on, is the risk of a large-scale fire akin to the Biolab fire that plagued this community. These systems are designed in such a way it's like Russian nesting dolls. It's layer after layer, belt and suspenders and belt again, of design safety, and also very sophisticated response methods, so that if there is a fire incident, and I say if, because there could be a fire at our facility just like there's a car fire, a house fire, you need to plan for this stuff anywhere. There are design standards so that if there is an incident, it is small and it's contained, and there's no risk of it spreading into this massive sort of biolab level fire. The containers themselves are outdoor rated containers. They're only 20 feet. So they do all sorts of testing. You can look up the UL9540A test method. And I'm not going to throw the technical jargon at you. That would be unfair. The plain terms is that they just light the dang things on fire and make sure that it doesn't spread to the nearest neighbor. So if there is an incident, what you're very likely to end up with is just a little wispy amount of smoke that's coming out the side of the container. In the absolute very worst case, it's a 20-foot container that's on fire, nothing more. There was also a question about what is the remediation for one of those incidents. These are lithium-ion battery cells of a lithium iron phosphate chemistry. They have a gel liquid electrolyte in them. So what that means is that the recommended best practice that we would present to the fire department as an emergency response plan and a condition of our rezoning is that they would allow a fire which is small enough and contained, and which we know from other incidents and from testing is not a harmful factor to the community should it happen. We would ask them to allow it to burn to completion, to take a defensive posture, and just to be there to make sure it doesn't spread or anything similar. And that once it burns itself to completion, there's no runoff into the ground, no water or anything like that. They simply take the container and remove it from site safely. There's no harmful impact into the ground soil, into the water systems, et cetera, et cetera.
Can you go over that point again?
Yes.
There's no fire, there's no water runoff?
So the only reason there could be water runoff in the event of the fire is if the fire department should choose to stick a hose directly in the thing and try to put it out. I say if because a part of our conditions is to create an emergency response plan, and so I don't want to say anything as final. But the latest and greatest in the industry, like I said, is that you should just allow it to burn to completion. It's a battery fire. You don't put it out with water. That's not a safe way to do things. So instead, they're designed so that any fire is incredibly small and contained and manageable and is allowed to burn itself to completion. And that's the safest and best way to do it. You don't want to put water on this thing, because then that's when you risk like water, toxic runoff into the water. That's not what you want. Instead, you allow it to burn to completion. Air quality monitoring at similar events have shown that any toxic chemicals coming out of a battery fire are below toxic thresholds by the time they reach the boundary of the site.
And what's the burn time usually?
It depends on how much energy is in the battery. If for some reason an incident were to happen when it's fully discharged, it could be very short, a matter of 20 minutes, hour, who knows. If it's fully charged, then there is more for it to get through. And so it could be on the order of hours or even over a day. Again, in those instances, our recommendation to the fire department, which we would work with them on an emergency response plan, is just to take an active defensive posture. Show up, monitor it, make sure it's doing its thing, burn to completion, and then we'd work to get the thing out of there. There's a lot of discussion on this. We feel very confident in the safety of these systems. It's evidenced by safety standards around the country and the history of the technology itself. We've talked a lot about it. I do just want to reiterate that these are outside remote possibilities. However, we have to plan for these outside remote possibilities. These things are not designed to fail, but they are designed to fail safely.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
If the board, do you have any discussion? If not, staff is complete with their presentation. Both sides have spoken, so this item is complete.
Okay. I do want to say, I know that Treaty Oaks, you guys have a team here tonight, and I might suggest that we're going to move on in the agenda, and we would love for everybody to stay for the next part, and I'll give you a description of what we're talking about next. But it seems like there's a lot of unanswered questions, so to be efficient, I would like to give y'all the opportunity, if y'all wanted to step outside and address some of these concerns. And I'm sure all of the public will be very respectful with their questions and likewise with your answers. So if y'all would like to do that, I think that might be a good thing, and have some dialogue so that we can be prepared for our next meeting when we hear this. Not from back there. Yeah, you can come to the podium. That will be fine. And then let me just say this, we'll be continuing our meeting, so if you decide to step outside and ask any questions to them, after the meeting tonight, I'll be here, and the other commissioners, if y'all would like to join me, to talk to the public. It seems like there's some people in the room that aren't aware of all the meetings we have, or maybe all the Unified Development Ordinance opportunities that we put out there. I know that sometimes when you see a UDO meeting or a Unified Development Ordinance meeting, that probably isn't the most exciting thing to catch your eye during the day. So we want to make sure that after all these meetings we've had, and maybe some of you haven't gotten to come, we do want to make sure that your voices are heard, but we need you there. They will accept written comments as well. But I just think there's more information that needs to get to you guys. So anyway, we'll be here after the meeting tonight for a little bit and address some of those other questions. Okay?
Okay, Quayle Simmons again. I wanted to know what it would take from the residents to stop the data centers and the battery. Can we?
So let me just say this. I thought you had a quick question. It was a little bit different. Sorry. My recommendation to you, because of this process, it will go from here. There's no decision made tonight. That would come at our next board meeting. So the best thing you can do is have conversations if you'd like to have conversations with them, and or come back after this meeting tonight, and I'll be here later. And you can talk to us then.
But I would like to know, if there's a petition started, how many people on a petition would stop the data centers, the rest of the data centers, and the battery?
I could talk to you offline after the meeting tonight.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry. He said something about, I want to get this on record, that you told the fire department.
No, sir. No, sir. We're not doing that. You have the opportunity to step outside and ask them questions, and we'll be here later after the meeting to address any other questions that you have. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
right.
Madam Chair, the next item is item number 6, and planning staff will begin the presentation.
Thank you.
Give them a second to clear.
Brandon, I think he's gonna push him out. I don't know if he has enough room. I think he's gonna push him out. I don't know if he has enough room to get by you, so.
Hold on. I know. Thank you guys for coming. You're so welcome. I did want to make an announcement. Our fire chief will be here in about 30 minutes if anybody wants to meet with him. So, yes, in about 35 minutes. Yeah. I can't.
Okay.
All right.
Next item. All right, we have to keep moving with the hearing.
Yes, we do.
All right, item number 6.
All right, item 6. So commissioners, if you recall, we started this Unified Development Ordinance update process with a phased approach where we presented initially item 1 being the residential development standards, all things related to residential activities in a phased approach, with the second item, 2026-02, being regulatory items for stormwater, transportation, water, some of the other regulatory entities in that section of the code. Since that time, we've modified the approach, and so item TEXT 2026-03 represents our proposal to do the full UDO update, all parts, all sections in one document. So we're withdrawing the first two, item 1, item 2, withdrawing those, and we're proceeding through the remainder of the process with item 2026-03 that we'll recommend that the board refer back to Planning Commission, and we'll restart the cycle.
All right. That was a lot that you said.
Yes.
So talk about what it really means and why 1 and 2 are not going to do, and we're not doing anything tonight with it.
So in short, everything that you see in item 1 and item 2 are in item 3.
So it's consolidated.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Very good. All right. Please proceed.
All right. All right. So since the last time we met, we did a quick presentation to Planning Commission 2 weeks ago.
And can we enlarge that, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
We haven't made any substantive changes to the code at this time. So we've used this time to update our community engagement process. So what you see on the screen highlighted in yellow is tonight, our March 26th BOC zoning public hearing. The next meeting in the process on next week, March 31st, we have a public engagement meeting dedicated to developers, builders, those concerned with residential development. That will be 1 to 3 p.m. on March 31st. CE Steel.
And that's for the
Developers, builders, residential developers, to take a look at the UDO. So we'll have some exercises and activities planned to get their feedback on changes that we propose to residential zoning districts, development standards, setbacks, architectural standards, etc.
And will you help the public understand why that's an important part of the process?
And so as we go through the process, the UDO, we're looking at all aspects of development throughout the county. Residential, commercial, institutional. And so this process is informed by the people that engage with the process. And so we want everyone to participate in the process because that helps us design the regulations, the development standards that apply to the things that you see every day.
And as we talk about workforce housing and making options in Rockdale affordable, I think having the developers and builders at these meetings is just part of the process. Sometimes there can be unintentional consequences of changes. So I think getting information not only from the public, but also those that are in construction can be helpful for us so that we're not asking for, very expensive additions and things like that.
Exactly. And we want to make sure things are realistic. So we
Okay.
can have conversations with them about the feasibility of different concepts and proposals. And so it all helps inform the process.
Very good.
So that meeting will be next. On April 9th, we'll have a Planning Commission work session here. And so that will give the Planning Commission another opportunity to deep dive into the UDO proposal, all the text amendments and proposals that we have as part of that process. And we will do it here in public as part of that discussion to get their feedback. Secondly, this item will be back before the board on April 14th. Once again, we're recommending that it be referred back to Planning Commission, and that'll go back to Planning Commission in May, and subsequently back to the board by June 9th, 2026. We also have a public engagement event that will be on April 15th. The location to be determined, but right now that time will be 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. on April 15th. So that will be open to the general public. Once again, to view the UDO proposal, give feedback, give comments, let us know what the community thinks about the various proposals in the UDO regulations.
Okay.
So that's roughly the process. We've laid out the rest of the timeline here. Going back to Planning Commission on May 14th. There'll be another BOC zoning public hearing
Board
on
of
May
Commissioners.
28th. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then back to the board for a second reading and adoption on June 9th. And the UDO will take effect on July 1st.
So can you go through what public hearings, if you know what they are, the next few public hearings that will be available
Yes, ma'am.
for the public to attend?
All right. So we have the developers meeting on March 31st. That's next week, 1 to 3 p.m. at CE Steel. We'll have the Planning Commission work session on April 9th here. That'll be an evening activity as well. Then we have the board meeting.
Actually, I hate to interrupt you, Director White, but that Planning Commission work session, training session, that will start at 3 p.m.
3 p.m.
Yeah.
We're working this out on the fly, so forgive me if I get the times wrong. But we will advertise. We have flyers. We have a website. We will update the website. We will push it out to all the possible avenues of getting information out that we can to make sure we spread the word far and wide.
Okay.
Yep. And so then Planning Commission on May 14th. Then we'll have another BOC zoning public hearing on May 28th. And the final meeting will be June 9th, 2026. That'll be a morning BOC meeting.
So Director Wright, you might want to also mention the UDO website that we have dedicated just to the UDO.
Have a slide
For,
just for that?
okay, great.
Yes, ma'am. So here's the flyer for the developer session on March 31st. Actually, we'll go here and then we'll go back. But we do have a dedicated website for the UDO updates, rockdaleudo.com. On that website, you will find all draft documents that we have. So you'll see number 1, number 2, and number 3. Number 3 is the version that we're working from currently. There'll be additional updates, and so as those drafts are made, they will be uploaded to this website for public consumption. That's rockdaleudo.com. And so just briefly, Commissioners, just as a quick reminder, as you're aware, one of the major proposals or modifications to the zoning districts that we have, so we are proposing to remove certain districts, replace them with new districts such as our Conservation Village District. We're also proposing the creation of a Plan Unit Development District for innovative proposals and things that fall outside the parameter of the code. And so we're still working through that process. And once again, as drafts are updated, we will make those available on our website. One of the things that's been very important to the board and members of the community that we have heard loud and clear is the need for missing middle housing, the need for housing affordability. And so some of that is addressed in the UDO, either through our development standards and through the introduction of tiny home construction, cottage home construction. We're in the process of trying to reach out to the Microlife Institute as advocates for that type of housing, see if we can get them out next Tuesday, and also to take a look at the code to see if they have any recommendations. And so they're experts as far as feasibility, financing, what works, what doesn't work as it relates to tiny homes and cottage homes. So we'll get them into the mix if we can. But that'll be a part of the process. We'll have that discussion with the developers on next week, and anyone else in the community who's interested in those forms of housing. We will have those there for, we'll have discussion, we'll have illustrations to take folks through those discussion points. So with that, we recommend that, I know you all don't make a decision tonight, but our recommendation is that you refer it back to Planning Commission and we'll restart the process in May. Thank you. Any questions?
No,
Thank you.
I don't think so.
I'm glad that you have reached out to the Microlife Institute. They have done some remarkable work. They started locally, but they've expanded.
If you can catch Will Johnston before I do, let him know to give me a call. But I'll see if I can catch him. I should reach him.
All right, so we do have one person signed up to speak in opposition, and that is Miss Stephanie Thomas.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
And I'm going to say I did not check either side because I'm not really in opposition. I just
Okay.
want to make a statement.
Okay.
As a longtime resident and one of the people that was asked to be on the stakeholder committee. It was after several weeks of people complaining, and eventually one person I know made a phone call to a member of the board, and to say that we were not being allowed to actually participate. What came next was pacifying, in my opinion. And I'm going to say in the opinion of other people, because we would always talk. We saw this draft when it was published. And there were several opportunities for us to see. We made several requests to see it as it was going forward, and that was not given to us as the people who live here. Now, I am one of the people who have been asking for tiny homes for 5 years. If y'all know me, y'all know that's true. But guess what? I just sat in the back and I read up to page 50. And I already see things that's a problem for other people that I know that live here. And the way it's being presented is all or none. This could have been done in sections. The people who actually live here that were asked to participate could have been allowed to take it in sections, divide into groups, give actual feedback, but that is not what happened. And so an all or none approach is not going to work. I have one specific page that directly impacts me.
Can you talk, you can give a couple of examples.
So in 2021, I came forward to, Dr. Williams was one of the members, and I worked with a member of the former planning office to develop a text amendment to allow me to have a grooming shop. At that time, I was allowed, with no objections from code enforcement, to go into I can't cuss, into a horrible place. And they had no problems with me there. I had to put in all the power. I had to put in everything because there was nothing there, plumbing, everything. Nobody objected. Members of the sheriff department, code enforcement officers, they all knew we were there because they were our customers. I work with Tetris, and I say, Tetris, let's go to down the street because it started being some criminal activity. He said, when you get to the place where you have to move, you will be allowed to apply for a special use. Well, last year, I did exactly what I was told to do 5 years ago. And when I went into the office, I was told by leadership that my application would not be accepted. And then I had my check returned. And so I was denied the opportunity to go through the process of being told no by planning, coming before the board, and then going through the appeals process. Well, now, after giving them the exact verbiage of that text amendment, after meeting with them on January the 27th, guess what? They changed it. And so that will then put me in a position where I will have to close down. I was told by a member of the planning office that if I operated business, that basically they would seek code enforcement on me and that they would shut my business down. That is not in support of small business. But that is the deal that I am going through. But besides that, I see enough verbiage that is concerning to me as a member who lives here with the people that I interact with and the people that have shared stories with me. It needs to be done in sections, and you need to let the people who live here tell you what is good and what is bad, because I have been here for 20 years, and I know of at least 4 directors that I can call by first name, which means it is very possible that the majority of the people to my left will not be here in 2 years. And I'm not trying to be ugly, but that is the reality. Turnover is high. They don't live here, and they are, as someone else said, they are not listening to the people who will be left holding the bag. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I will say some of our department does live here in the community, and we are working very hard to get consistent responses
I will
to
reserve
questions.
my comment. I know who that person is, and I'll reserve my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. You
Can
have
I
a
say
good
something?
day.
In reference to what you say and the concerns that people have when they express it to just one person, when there's a 3-person board.
Yes.
And I want everybody to understand, not one person can make a decision about something.
Oh, I know that.
But but it just seems like that's the running thing. When people have issues, they talk to one person.
So let me just explain.
Mm-hmm.
My rationale for talking to the one person was because at the moment I tried to talk to everybody, I was directed to the people to my left. I had a long conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I had detailed information exchanged, and to date, we are in the month of March. Not one person to my left has made a phone call to me. But we sat in that office for a long time. I did exactly what you told me. I gave them all the information. I have never told anything that was untrue. They had every email that went forward, and basically what they said, verbatim, one person said was, "You're not gonna get your license." Now that says I don't get to go through the process. My application was discarded and my check was returned. That's a violation of due process.
This is the first time I'm hearing, just FYI.
Me too.
Thank
So-
you for that information.
I don't have anyone else signed up to speak. So that closes this one out.
Okay. All right. And if you will talk about the next steps moving forward, please.
So the voting session for the Board of Commissioners will be the next steps for the items that were heard tonight on the Treaty Oaks and on the UDO. And the recommendation for the UDO was for the board to send it back through the public hearing process.
Okay. So with that being said, if anybody wants to stay and has other questions, we'll be here to answer them. And the fire chief will also be here in just a few minutes. So, all right. Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.